Daphne Caine MHK for Garff is with us, and I've asked to talk to you because unfortunately I missed it, but I heard all about it. The debate about education. Just explain again what you brought. What was the motion you wanted to debate?
I referenced the success of separating in the Sir Jonathan Michael Review, separating healthcare policy from operational delivery, service delivery, and suggested that the Chief Minister, Council of Ministers could look at similar for education.
This is, as I said, health business are going that way. This is the sort of traction. It's too close, is it? You think it's...
From my feedback, and I have spoken to a large number of education professionals now, teachers, teaching assistants, parents and students, and I don't think all is well in the world-class education system that the department is promoting and aspiring to deliver.
Now, don't get me wrong, but the Minister didn't really want this debate. I got the impression from what I heard. You were there and you... okay, over to you. Were you treated in the courtesies of the thing, or was it a shutdown, Cragene sort of response?
I think in a way it's not helpful that he was so impassioned, and that there was the personal insult of lies and more lies isn't addressing the issues. Yes, there's probably one or more inaccuracies, the number of education psychologists, for instance, but it's not about the number, it's whether there is sufficient to meet the demand of the young people that they are treating within schools. And I made the point very definitely that in terms of these other services, health service provision, centralised services, caretaker provision, GTS doing the IT provision, is it adequate? Is it the most helpful system to provide the best service for the schools? And that's all extra burden on the school leaders. The students are telling me that they're not satisfied with the replacement policy over some of the IT equipment. I've got, there's been issues with caretakers now happily resolved, but it's all sort of a mounting picture. And in terms of class sizes and education support people, have we got the real balance? Have we got the right ratio that we used to have?
Was it anecdotal though, what you were getting? It's been described as the mummies at the gates of the school all having a yip, and you're picking up some of this stuff. I mean, can you back it up?
It's not just parents, it's governors, it's teachers,
it's
school leaders. I have recorded and noted a lot of conversations.
So is that fact?
I'm getting, yes it is, it's their reporting to me, and it's my impression of the overall, and I would like some engagement. And I mean, the Minister did, in between his impassioned speeches and attack, there were some important mentions of policies and people and forward-looking things that the department were doing. Where I was coming from is saying, are we looking at it, are they too involved? I think the President summed it up best after the debate, saying, oh, we've had this discussion before. Should a department be both a Whitehall policy formation, policy think tank, and also the local education authority delivering that service to the schools? And that's where I am. Is there a conflict there, or an inability to get the bigger picture? And when it came down to the education bill, another I would say important aspect was that the schools do not feel that they have had input at an early stage into the bill. Now the Minister refutes that. That's still not the information that I'm getting from teachers. But setting that aside, what's important is what it aims to achieve. And I don't see this world-class education system, I don't see, as in healthcare, the patient at the centre. I don't see the student firmly at the centre of all the policies and the legislation growing up to support a world-class education system. I see a department that's designing policies to give it even more increasing legal rights to impose decisions on schools and the system on the island.
What do you take with it when the lies thing came into this?
I don't mind the normal cut and thrust of political debate. We don't see it very often.
That's harsh.
That's wrong. It's wrong. He doesn't agree with me. But
was it you being a liar, or were you just saying
he said it was a diatribe of lies and more lies. I would say it was a year or two or three of accumulated discontent, and I said what I'm hearing were rumblings, and now there's roar of dissatisfaction, and I think that was borne out both in the debate. Now members didn't agree with me. It wasn't supported, but there's a lot of support, and importantly we had a debate and we had views expressed, and a lot of support from Mr. Robert Shaw, who seconded it, and Mr. Shimmons, saying there's an issue here, it's leadership, it's the drive to bring everyone along with you. And I think what we didn't have demonstrated, and still not with later events last week, was that the department has the drive and is bringing everyone along and being engaged.
Let's talk about that. I mean, he's basically saying he's got the support of everyone. You are just being a troublemaker, I think, is just. But then suddenly an amazing leak comes out from a very important union that says basically that they're not backing him. Am I reading this right?
I think there's an official complaint about institutional bullying on the part of the minister.
They're not supporting him then. I mean, bullying is a massive.
There is one union.
That's a massive word, bullying.
Yeah.
And we don't know where we are at the minute.
Well,
it was a leak, first of all. I presume it's. Have you seen it? Does it exist? Is this a real?
I haven't. I'm not party to what went on. No, and I certainly didn't leak it because I haven't had a copy of that letter in my hand.
Right.
But I would say that's an aside. I mean, it says that not all is right in the relationship between the department and the schools, and I think we need that to be mended. We need true engagement. We need listening. We need to know that everybody's on board because we're all on the same side. Right. We all want the best education system we can for the Isle of Man.
Does Mr. Gudgeon have to go in your view? Does he have to step down?
I think that's totally a matter for the Chief Minister.
I'm asking you, what do you think?
And for himself, if he thinks that he is the right person to lead it.
Do you think he's the right person?
I think that there are potentially stronger candidates, but in terms of the critical period where we are with the legislation coming forward, I mean, and it's similar in other departments, there's so much business going on, and as a department member, you're aware of how much work is going on behind the scenes.
Do you want the job?
And in the legislative programme. No, I think I'd be the wrong person at this time.
I'm not saying the Children's Champion all that when you...
I did, and I resigned the Children's Champion purely because the remit narrowed to vulnerable and looked after children, and I see a whole area of children's issues that need support.
You wouldn't turn it down if you got it, although you... how are you and the Chief Minister anyway these days?
I don't expect the Chief Minister will be knocking on my door, and I certainly haven't
had a phone call. That answers a lot of things.
But I mean, one of the things I suggested was we are the only jurisdiction compared with England, Ireland, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Jersey, have a Children's Commissioner. Right. So is there something that says we should step out of the service delivery and have a Children's Commissioner looking after the rights of all children?
Are you going to push for that? Are you going to keep at this?
I'm just suggesting it as a policy review at a higher level, that's something that Comyn could consider. Alternatively, do we need a Minister for Children and Communities that could look at things in the round, more a sort of higher level strategy, strategic direction of children and services for the island?
Now, you didn't get the support. I mean, in a sense, you got a fair amount, but you didn't take the day.
There was verbal support, but in terms of where it goes, it's still a matter for the Chief Minister. Whether or not the vote went through, the Chief Minister needs to consider across all policies and all departments what is the best setup for the Isle of Man. I mean, just the issue of league tables. The Minister was very strong on diversionary tactics, harking back to things from a couple of years ago. I've said in public, I appreciate that league tables are not the best thing for education, but we do need genuine benchmarking. We need, as parents and as politicians, to have confidence in the standards the schools are attaining, and also that we are doing the right exam system. And I'm not hearing that there's a process of reviewing the IGCSE or the exam boards. There's certainly been tension, and if you read, there's an FOI about trying to change the exam board for maths that went on over months, and these are having direct impact on the students who are currently studying. So you want a better relationship for things like that to be addressed.
Well, David Watts did an interview with his figures, and he very much asked the Minister to debate it. I've asked him, he won't debate, by the way. So do you think that's a sign of weakness, or should he be in front of the public talking about these sort of things?
Well, I think if you're confident in your world-class education system and the attainment of young people generally, which is fabulous. I mean, I think the young people on the island and the achievements in individual areas, and we've got contestant, people going over to NASA, we've got contender in the world word championships and all the rest of it.
It's clearly there are some issues there. There must be for those figures.
The big thing, something he mentioned in response to the debate, was that the increase, and I was going on about the lack of service provision in terms of meeting the needs of mental health, anxiety, depression amongst students. The Minister said, calling for it was my calling for league tables that's causing the anxiety and stress. And I'm thinking,
are you causing anxiety and stress?
Well, no, it's amongst the students, and in terms of what policies are in place to support people. There's quite a number who are not in mainstream education who are moving into reluctantly homeschooling and online learning because the services that surround them and support them are not achieving.
Who would be best for the job, in your opinion?
I'm not even going to go there. I think I'm not sure I'd put a brand new backbencher into a first-time political role in such a key department. I think it's always been seen as kind of an easy option, but I think it absolutely needs a strong strategic thinker to look at the bigger picture of education.
Should sport and culture be jettisoned elsewhere and it's focused totally on that, or you like the idea of moving it into the Cabinet Office?
Where I'm coming from, I think sport and culture and arts council and all those and the Villa Marina, I think they could probably manage perfectly well outside of direct political control. So yeah, it does need a more strategic look and a focus on education. And the other issue that I had a real problem with the credibility is the external assessment of the school standards. It's a fudge. It's kind of this Orwellian, the school assesses itself in teaching for learning or in parental engagement. If it says we are not yet achieving the standard, the inspector might say, the school knows itself very well, which is a rubbish. It sounds like a positive, but it's a negative. Or it says, if the school says it's achieving in whichever aspect they're being assessed on, there's no evidence for this. But it doesn't say there's no evidence because they're not achieving, just they didn't bother to put any evidence in. It's a meaningless assessment that really doesn't benefit and support, celebrate the excellence, or even to say where schools may be having issues that they need to support in those aspects, and then we see a clear follow-up of achievement. And I think for any parents coming from across the water, where you can go onto a school website and it's front and centre what their ratings are, whether they're outstanding or failing or anything in between. Do you know that it's clarity, it's openness, it's transparency, and that willingness to engage. And it's not just about the politicians. Politicians are the worst people to start determining education policy. For me, we need the impact of the school leaders. They know education, they know systems, they know what's working and what isn't working. But in terms of proper information and a structure that best supports the people in school, the students, all the teaching professionals, and allows them and supports them to enable them to thrive and achieve the world-class education system that we all want for the Isle of Man. That's what I want to see.